Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast for all who want to learn about legal funding and its significance in the personal injury, workers' compensation, rideshare injuries, med mal, and all other types of law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all injured individuals. In today's episode, I'm honored to introduce Betty Aquino, a founder and CEO of WIL By Betty, or Women in Leadership by Betty movement. With over 20 years of experience in banking and legal services industries, Betty is a respected professional known for her expertise in law firm, financing, and business development. As the founder of the Women in Leadership program and president of Bar Consulting Group, LLC, Aquino or Betty is dedicated to empowering women and fostering growth within the legal realm. Her career is defined by a commitment to building business-enabling ecosystems, leveraging technology and innovation at the same time, and providing transformative leadership for successful ventures. Stay tuned till the very end because, as you know, the fun pop-up question is coming at the very end. Welcome to It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast, Betty.
Laura, thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure and honor to be with you here today, but more importantly, to add value to your community. So I'm just so honored. Thank you for this opportunity.
We're honored are as well. So happy to have you, and with our busy schedules, it's not easy to find that time. So we really, really appreciate it, especially on Friday in Atlanta. So we recently had a conference in New Orleans, WIL By Betty. That was one of the best conferences I personally ever been to, just with a woman, letting hair down, crying, laughing. It was truly, and I'm spreading the word. Yesterday, went to 2 events. I was telling everybody how amazing it is. Do you know Betty? Most people do know Betty. If somebody doesn't know, like, you don't know Betty yet. Let me introduce you to Betty. So it was, of course, hundreds of women from all around the nation, a couple men as well. They were very much appreciated and respected and thought about. And we heard, of course, dozens of women speak during the conference, business owners primarily, talking about the resilience, manifesting strength, and letting go of fear, what fuels women in business law, how influence is built, how our unique gifts can carry, our unique gifts that we carry can be unearthed, and so on. So let me ask you this, Betty. Can you share your personal journey and experiences with promoting women in leadership roles within our industry?
Well, before I get to your question, thank you so much for that recap and beautiful testimony. We pour our heart and soul into making sure that we deliver a wonderful experience, but more importantly, we provide confidence to women in law, women in business. There is a lot of hours that's invested in making sure that our community is getting what they came for. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I can sit here today and hear firsthand around the impact that the conference created for you, your business, your community, it tells me that we're doing the right things. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ben.
So a little bit about me, Betty Aquino. I have been in the financial service industry for north of 2 decades. I started at a very young age in my early 20s. I don't think I was 20, to be quite honest. I was 19. And I was just so humble and green at that time. I went in for an interview with HR, had no clue what HR was. And throughout the course of that day, I had 5 conversations. And by the third one, I said, I don't know why I'm still interviewing with these people if they don't want me, because clearly I keep going from person to person, not knowing that I was passing each interview.
I love it.
And I was climbing up the corporate ladder through the interview process, but I had no clue So I went back home and I told my mom, it was a great experience. I loved it. I know I'm not getting the job. And in fact, I was thinking about returning my slacks. And the day that I was going back to return the slacks because I knew I wasn't going to need it anymore, the bank calls me. So I got hired by Citizens Bank, which is headquarters in Rhode Island, and it's a big organization, which at the time was owned by the Royal Bank of Scotland. So I've worked for a top 5 company in the world, climbed up the corporate ladder, doing business development, working with the commercial side as well as the consumer side of the business. At one point, what they called the regional manager managed a team of, several hundred people that reported into my channel. From there, I left that bank, and my last bank stop was a bank called Esquire Bank, which I love dearly. Shout out to them. But they taught me how to navigate in this space, the legal community, and how to work with law firms, how to structure a deal. And because of my great mentors that I had while at Citizens Bank, it afforded me the opportunity to go around the nation to a number of conferences, as well as, interface with so many high profile law firms that really have care, compassion to the business and their clients. And through that, one of the things that I saw was that there was very little presence of, people that look and sound like you and I, women. And while I had great mentors, wonderful mentors, that void was very loud. And I left Esquire and kind of started on the alternative funding side. So it gave me 2 strong arms. I know how to structure a deal with regulators looking down my throat, and I know how to structure a deal with, call it, hedge fund money. So that gave me some real strength. But through that, I saw that there was not enough women at the table or getting access to capital to scale their practice. You being in your line of business, the power that we bring when we're able to inject capital into a law firm who's seeking to scale their practice. So what I did was I said, I am going to start a community that's going to support us. We're going to have conversations that affect us. But more importantly, and unapologetically, I said, we are going to do business with each other, and we are going to understand and know the latest case. How do we create co-counsel for each other? How do we get the best marketing team? How do we align ourselves from a branding standpoint? How do we put ourselves out there? So fast forward, Laura, my first Women in Leadership, it was a roundtable. I did it at a boardroom with Leaf Cabresa in Tribeca, New York. I thought 5 women would show up. And I said to Wendy, the managing partner there, I said, Wendy, I just need you to show up and we will show out together. We had north of 40 plus women.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's encouraging. So encouraging.
It was unbelievable. Wow. And at that point, I was so connected, so plugged in to delivering more. In fact, we were asked to do more. People kept saying, Betty, when is the next one? When is the next one? So through that, my passion and love just grew even stronger and stronger. And that's how I got started.
I love it. What a beautiful story. You're such an example of inspiration, persistence, perseverance, and just leading with heart and with God's grace.
That's right.
It's always amazes. What amazes me about you that you're such a believer in God. That's why I love you, because without God we are not. We
in my world, we're nothing.
We don't have much at all to offer.
So listen, I am a strong believer, and I thank you for calling that out. My mom is a pastor, so I know what that's like, the fear of God, and from a very young age. He was just so present. And if you think about it for a moment, you say, well, goodness, if I know God, and I know what it's doing for me, I really don't care to know what's on the other side.
Exactly.
So that's what we
So true. Thank you so much again for sharing your beautiful story. how can Betty organizations benefit from having more women in leadership positions, especially in traditionally men-dominated sectors like personal injury law or any other business for that matter?
Yeah, I think that that is a super important question, and I thank you for asking it. People think that a bunch of women getting together is really complaining, and they believe that we're there to bash our male counterparts. That's not what WIL by Betty represents. In fact, the reason why it's so important to have women in organizations, it's diversity. So it's not just about women, it's about having a diverse group of people sitting around the decision table. When you think about scaling, if you have like-minded people and you're not inviting the other side, you may miss an opportunity as a law firm owner to connect with that B2C, your consumer. Your next big case could come from a discussion or an opposing opinion that may come from you having diversity at the table. So for me, it's super important to align yourself with, number one, like-minded people, but to understand, is my law firm diverse? Am I inviting other thoughts and opinion to really shape up my company brand, the brand awareness that we're trying to put out there?
Such a good point. Diversity and inclusion does matter, no matter where you are, no matter the country, no matter the state, especially in the United States, where businesses, it's all about business. So we have to be able to include everybody. And just like Betty said, it's having women at the table adds so much value to your company and to your growth and to your scaling. What are some common challenges, Betty, that women face when trying to advance into leadership roles, and how can they overcome these obstacles?
Yeah, being someone who had to climb up the corporate ladder, and I didn't have many mentors that look or sound like me, there was this lack of confidence. One thing is knowing the job and knowing the subject, and the other thing is putting yourself out there, right?
Yes. Two different things.
They're two different things. And along the way, I had to develop that self-confidence. I am a big sports head. Anyone who knows me knows I love basketball. I love football. I love any sports. And I do believe that sports has shaped me in terms of how I approach things that relate to my work side of my life.
That's very interesting.
So some of the best players, they lead with, mindset, tunnel vision around the win, or that next level, or how they train, right? The training part of it is so fascinating to me. And I, from a very young professional age, I always adapted that model where players, they came in with the mindset of, we're going for the championship. So every year I approached not the company business plan, but my business plan, my personal development. How do I grow? And I learned along the way that there is alignment that needs to happen with your own brand as well as the company brand. So for me, that confidence, super important.
So talking about the teams, now I have you got me intrigued. Talking about basketball, what's your favorite team or teams? Is there one or a couple?
Your audience is going to kill me because
no, not at all. Hey, hello.
I'm a New Yorker, so financially, when I was truly invested in the Brooklyn Nets. Shout out to them as well as the Knicks.
Okay.
So today I love the Hawks.
You love the Hawks? Dude, would you, if you got two tickets at once, which game would you go to?
Definitely
Hawks. Okay, hello. Georgia. What about football?
So football today, because of, the conversation we're having and where we're having it, the Falcons, even though, we're not doing so well, I think it's still early enough to change things around.
Okay. And what about your husband? Is he a big sports fan?
Huge.
Nice.
Huge.
That's a perfect family dynamic right there.
It's a perfect match. In my home, we're not changing the channel.
Okay.
We are actually plugging into ESPN and, Prime and all the outlets that are showcasing sports.
I love it. Season for sports. I'm ready. I'm so ready. So my son used to play for Walton, he just started college this year. So it's very different, first time for me. But playing football, he just got me into football. Me being from Europe, I grew up with soccer and basketball. Obviously, Žalgiris, go Žalgiris for my city. But with my son playing on the team, just got so much into football, and without him, I'm still watching it. It's gets me hot, gets me so. I'm the one shouting at the TV screen right there.
Sports mom.
I am. Yes. Awesome. Betty, what is your vision in supporting women and empowering women leaders in their professional growth and development?
Yeah, I think we all play a part in that, right? And it's simple. It's doing what we're doing now. Where is there collaboration that's happening? How do you build credibility? How do you support women in their growth plan? In your organization, in your law firm, if you are a male who runs your law firm, are you hiring and also promoting from within, right? They're just simple things that you can do to really help elevate a female experience. And I always say this, at least when I was in corporate America, for me, it was about how do I show up so that I can allow room for the next young lady to walk behind me.
That's amazing. Such a great example. I haven't thought about that, but that totally makes sense. You just keep on amazing me, Betty, for sure. Can we discuss for a moment the importance of diversity and inclusion? I know we touched on that for just a moment in leadership teams, and how that contributes to organizational success in a company, law firm, or any other business.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about my conference and how diverse our conference is, right? The conference experience, we pull women from all around the United States. Some of my hottest cities are New York, Atlanta, California. We have Houston, Colorado is big for us. Arizona, buzzing a lot.
New Mexico,
presence, Dallas. I mean, the list goes on. But if you think about the magic that happens in that room, it was why diversity was at its core.
Still getting goosebumps from that.
It's a real thing. So think about you being a law firm owner and you bringing in that level of depth to your team. Think about the cases that you're now able to represent. Think about the clients, right? That you're able to show and represent who you are and continue to penetrate in that community, right? Because you stepped outside your comfort and you said, I'm going to put diversity first. It is at the epicenter of who WIL By Betty is and what we do. And we're firm believers that that is how we're going to continue to win one law firm owner at a time.
Love it. And I know you have a new type of conference, or new, I guess, type. I don't know how you call it, category of conference. I don't even know what to call it. WIL By Betty is the movement, right? But what's the other one? Just if you could just briefly mention it, please.
Yeah, thank you for that, Laura. It's one of those things where, again, we are getting asked, what are you doing next? And in order for you to continue to elevate your client experience, and for me, my clients are the women law firm owners, the women decision makers, we have been asked, how can we see more of you that's not just connected to once a year, which is our flagship annual conference? So said we're going to come up with, something to deliver. And we have delivered a WIL By Betty Business Summit.
Okay.
And that is going to be tied to the business side of who we are in business. You don't wake up knowing how to run a business. You just don't, right? It requires experience. It requires a coach. It requires exposure to other law firm owners. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing that summit to 6 cities. So it's a 6-city tour in 2026. If I can indulge your audience, it is LA, February 6th. That's where we're starting off. We're then coming to Atlanta. We're heading to New York, Chicago, New Orleans, and Houston.
Nice.
Focused on operation leadership, branding, access to capital. Once you have capital, what do you do with it? So it's really shaping up you, the law firm, to help you scale, creating a business plan, sticking to the business plan. How do you identify talent? How do you create, a bulletproof business plan? These are all the things that sometimes you have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, or you just don't have the time. Make the time. It's a one-day commitment.
Okay. And then we can mention, actually now, if you don't mind, how people can sign up for that and what's the cost for attending those seminars.
Yeah, thank you again. It's www.willbybetty.co is the WIL by Betty Business Summit. So I'll play that back one more time, www.willbybetty.co. And our flagship conference is willbybetty.com.
Okay.
So we're very busy this
I can
year.
only imagine. I don't know how, again, thank you so much for being here in Atlanta on Friday.
I wouldn't want to be anyplace else.
What are some key principles of transformative leadership that have proven to be effective in driving successful ventures in personal injury world or space, in your opinion, Betty?
One of the things that I find in the PI space in our community and in other businesses as well, authenticity will always win the race. If people know that you are real and they can trust you, that's half the battle. People gravitate to realness. And I truly believe that leadership starts with that. It starts with, how do you stay true to you? People want to deal with you today and they want to see you again tomorrow. They don't want to see a different side of Laura because now you become confusing.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, who is she really? So I find that you have to be your authentic self. That creates true leadership that people want to follow, because that's also another part. Leadership is so complex, but just to keep it concise, people will follow quality leaders.
And it's interesting. That's exactly how I felt at the WIL by Betty conference in New Orleans, just having very unique personalities. Everybody was so different. And everybody was so connected at the same time. Energy was, oh my goodness.
Electrified.
Oh, electrified. That's a perfect word right there. All right, let's move on. How do you better define transformative leadership, and how does it differ from traditional leadership approaches?
Yeah,
from your experience.
Transformative leadership is just that. I find that in order for you to be transformative, you have to be able to connect with people and meet them where they are. It's not just our viewpoint. It's how do you take your team's viewpoint and be transformative, apply that innovation to your business, right? And that to me is just as simple as it sounds.
All right, Betty. So we started talking about the transformative leadership. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I think transformative leadership, in addition to what we talked about, is really how do you create a company culture that is one that's inviting, it's recognizable. From the moment people walk in the door, they feel it, they know it, they check themselves before they walk in. I think it's also when you're looking at your client base, right? That's transformative leadership, because you attract your avatar.
Yes.
And that creates real transformation that allows for a brand, a company to scale.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for explaining it so well. What role does mentorship play in nurturing emerging leaders and fostering a culture of personal and professional growth within an organization? You've been yourself mentored by a few great leaders in recent years, correct? And if you'd like to mention them, go ahead.
Yes. Mentorship is everything. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for mentorship. And some people believe that mentorship is, you are my mentor, Listen, mentorship can be someone who invites you into their office every Friday, and you're able to really sit down and experience their greatness, pick up strengths. And they may also be vulnerable right through that relationship and tell you about certain things that you need to watch out for. So for me, mentorship is everything. And I strongly, strongly encourage everyone to find your community. And while we talk about mentorship, I'm going to add another layer, which is, who's on your board of directors? And I've been preaching about this since 2017 when I first started WIL by Betty. And it wasn't named WIL by Betty then, it was just Women in Leadership, hosted by Betty Aquino. But back then it was, who's on your board of directors? You need that someone who's going to tell you, yes, this works. No, this doesn't work. If you have a community of people that are going to yes you, you're not really growing. And that's not really mentorship. So it's important to identify those that make you feel good and those that keep you honest and those that give you the God honest truth, where you really have to dust yourself off and look in the mirror and really dig down deep around how am I going to change to create better improvement for me in tomorrow. So mentorship is something that's near and dear to me. In fact, so much so that just yesterday I had a conversation with two beautiful young ladies that one attended the conference and the other one was a scholarship winner. What people don't know is, WIL by Betty was able to work with Elizabeth Magazine, Kristen Pitts, and Christina Ducos, and shout out to those three beautiful souls, as well as Janelle Sanchez, who's with Christina. And they put together a damn good first go round scholarship program. That scholarship program was able to award 3 young ladies that are in law school, and they applied. One of them has 3 other majors on top of, her law degree that she's seeking. The other one works for a nonprofit seeking to create change. And then we have the one that attended the conference who said to me, Betty, I wish this was something I had while in high school. So we awarded these ladies with a scholarship. But what came out of that is the birth of a mentorship program. The WIL by Betty will now have a mentorship program. So I am seeking women lawyers, not just women, I want some men to take part in this mentorship program. Our goal, I already put it out there, I want to create change amongst a dozen, just 12 for right now, for 2026, where we can provide them a home with a professional where they can really learn. And when it's time for them to go and seek for their first career path job, that they have someone who they can call.
That's amazing. And you know what I just thought about now as you were talking, we could maybe combine it somehow in some way with the Goal Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of Goal.
Yes, you have told me. Yes,
Georgia Association of Women Lawyers. So Juliana, who so kindly offered her office for us today to report. She's the president of the Gold Foundation this year and on the board as well. Jen Gore was last year's president. So I think that would be a good combination. We can figure out that way a little bit later. But this would be, I see a big thing happening between the collision would be amazing, such a beautiful creation. So let's talk about that on our next episode.
I would love that.
How can leaders, Betty, cultivate a culture of innovation and adaptability to stay ahead in the competitive landscape of personal injury law?
Yeah, 2 things. One, communication. You have to have open dialogue with your team. It's just that simple. As a leader, if you are open to suggestions, new thoughts, new business ideas, you'd be surprised. Or your direct reports are local. They are invested. They want to see the company win. Remember my sports, love. People in the locker room, they want to come in to a good winning culture.
Yes.
So you got to invite that and you got to feel that. You got to keep feeding it. So that's communication. And then number 2 is, You really, really have to identify your people that have talents and lean into their strengths. Just that simple.
I love it. So such a good, set of suggestions that we all should follow.
So simple.
Tell us, please, how can leadership development programs within organizations be tailored to specifically address the needs and challenges faced by women professionals aiming for senior roles?
So I think it's one of those things where you have to first acknowledge, am I providing the tools and resources so that the people that report into me are feeling supported and getting the tools? If the answer is yes, great. How do you enhance that? If the answer is no, what can you do as a law firm owner to incorporate more into training and development? And number two, ask your people, ask your direct reports. They know what's out there because they know in terms of how they want to grow, what's out there, and what they need to sign up for. You can't be that law firm owner that's out of touch and say, hey, we don't have any marketing dollars to help support you on a class that you want to take. You got to say yes. You got to find marketing dollars to support your people. And that's how you create that.
And how much should go to marketing? How many percent should be allocated to marketing?
Yeah, I think that is unique to that particular law firm, right? Because whatever your top receipt numbers are, obviously you're having discussions with your CFO to identify, how you're spending that pool of money, but there should be some consideration that should be growing year over year to help support and feed not just your marketing, but also your people learning and development. It's just that simple. When your people grow, and guess what? Your company's growing.
Absolutely.
So you can go back and look at your P&Ls and say, okay, we made an investment. We see an ROI. And it's just that, I don't want to say that simple, but you got to be disciplined to look at the numbers to give back to not just marketing, but people's skills and people development.
Numbers do matter. Look at your numbers. Don't forget that. That's very important. Numbers it's essential, really, for any business.
Numbers matter.
Through your recent ventures like WIL By Betty and Business of Law Summit by Betty, you met countless women leaders, business owners, lawyers, entrepreneurs. Could you share a success story or two where transformative leadership principles were instrumental in turning around a struggling venture within a personal injury industry?
Laura, I have been blessed to be in some amazing rooms. I have met amazing women and will continue to do that, right? And one of the things that I am well aware of is the power and energy that WIL By Betty brings to every interaction that we have. One that stands out for me is a young lady texted me and said, Betty, I left your conference and I went back to my executive team and I laid out all of the initiatives and wins that I brought back to our law firm. And she was asking for an elevated role as well as the monetary part. She came back and got a 67% pay increase.
Look at that. Wow, it worked. It truly worked.
She came with the facts. She was surrounded by women who have been there. We gave her the tools. We gave her the confidence to walk into the room. So that's one that stood out for me. The other one that stood out is we had a managing partner at a law firm, and she was in that role for a couple years, and really she was living out someone else's dreams. A lot of fear will hold you back, a lot of fear around her next chapter. She left the conference with two blessings. She identified her new law firm partner, and she was able to establish her own law firm.
Aww.
Today, she went from 0 cases to now having a docket of 250 cases because she left that room with some real context. And for me, most the legal community, they call them vendors. I don't. For me, my sponsors are strategic partners. She left that conference with strategic partners that helped her scale her business.
And by the way, you nailed that term, strategic partners. So from that day on, from New Orleans, I haven't been calling anybody vendors, but strategic partners.
They're not vendors. They're my strategic partners.
And actually, thanks to you again, Betty, I personally made so many connections. I had several people on my podcast, made so many deals, business deals, and it continues. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad.
It definitely has a ripple effect.
I am
so thankful to you forever.
So glad. Next will be even bigger.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And by the way, where the next conference will be in 2026?
So we're going back to New Orleans. Okay. And the rest I'll tell you later.
Okay, can't wait. So everybody be tuned in on that one. Super exciting news are coming up soon. Back to our conversation, Betty, what strategies do you recommend for fostering a culture of collaboration and teamwork within multidisciplinary teams in the legal sector, particularly when working on complex personal injury cases?
Strategies. I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. In order for you to get buy-in from your team, you have to be able to communicate, be authentic, be clear and concise with your vision, and people will follow. The strategy around the work itself is different, right? But the strategy around people and getting people to commit and buy in is totally different. And if you can stay true and authentic, man, you can then start checking off the boxes with the other strategies.
And vision and values, is that really the same thing, or do they go hand in hand with each other?
Yeah, I think that for me, I've always kind of put a pie around it. As a leader, you have to have vision. You got to know where you're going, so that people know where's the journey, right? And you can celebrate your wins along the way. Values are fundamental. We have core values at WIL by Betty, and we don't deviate from that, right? For me, when people say to me, how are you able to align so many powerful women together? What people don't know is I have conversation with every speaker, every strategic partner. And yes, I've had to say no to some speakers because why? Their vision, their values don't align. So when you think about your values, that's how you protect your company culture.
Absolutely.
That's how you protect your people. That's how you're able to scale, because you're enhancing as opposed to getting a cancerous, little cell in there. So yes, they all align.
I love it. Betty, looking into the future, if you had a magic ball, what trends do you foresee in terms of women leadership in the legal industry? And how can organizations proactively prepare all of these changes to remain competitive and innovative?
I think that a lot of what I'm seeing, at least my seat at the table, is more women will have a lot of decision power to shift dollar spend. A lot of law firm ownership will be the face of women, which is great. We invite that. A lot of strategic partners in our industry will also shift. I see a lot of women taking leadership roles. I see a lot of women digging in deep around how can they acquire financial background to start their own companies. So I think that we, as a WIL by Betty community representing women, we're heading in the right direction. It's not what it was 30 years ago, where we're taking a back seat because we're fearful. I see a lot of representation in us. The other thing, I'll leave you with this, that I'm also seeing. I love the male support that we're getting. Yes. I love the male support that we're getting. WIL by Betty is a product of men supporting women, women supporting women. And I have some of the best trial lawyers in the business around the nation supporting WIL by Betty. Some are loud and some are silent, but both of them have created a path where WIL by Betty is succeeding and thriving because men are also supporting us and they're seeing us and they're giving us the respect. And I'm just so thrilled for what's to come for the future.
It's so amazing. And just couple names to mention. Daryl Gray. Who else would you like to mention from our amazing men that we love so much and in supporting us women?
Yeah, so we definitely got to give a shout out to Daryl because Daryl hosted us in New Orleans. His Tuesday party, the launch party was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was so much energy. Real New Orleans, real New Orleans.
You missed out, so make sure you don't miss next year, please.
Don't miss it next year. He also was the host, the MC for the entire conference. This is a man that's busy with court and everything. Gina Saponza, got to give her some love, and her husband,
thank you,
Mike.
Gina.
Her husband, Mike.
Yes, thank you.
Big supporters. They opened up their homes, their ranch to our community. You got Michael Flanagan in Chicago. Huge, love him. Jeremy Toussaint, Michael Madati in California as well, BD&J. And there's so many other men that have been there. This year we had Ralph, we had Conway from New York. So the list is getting bigger and bigger. I won't be able to rattle this off, come next year, but we do have a lot of male presence. Like I said to you earlier, WIL by Betty is not about fashion men. This is not, if you're looking for that, you're not getting that here. We invite them in. We love them. They support us and they love what we're doing.
So if you're a male business owner of a law firm, managing partner, please reach out to Betty, to me, and I'll connect you to Betty. And Betty, if somebody is looking for your expertise in organizing, carrying out the large capacity conferences like you put together, and if somebody has a question simply about, if they just wanted to get to know you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So but let me just start by saying this, WIL by Betty, while yes, we host conferences, we are also at the epicenter of being resourceful. We know so many people were able to align our community to strategic partners. And that is why people believe in us. That is why people come to us. They really respect our community and they know that we're going to add value. They can find me at www.wilbybetty.com. My email is will, W-I-L, @wilbybetty.com. And Laura, I just want to finish where I started and say thank you for this amazing opportunity to collaborate with you, your vision, your company, and your community. Thank you.
It was such a great conversation. I have, of course, a million more questions, but maybe we will find time maybe next year or 2 years from now to put together another episode to talk about the updates and see how the WIL by Betty grew and how the business law conference also grew and what happened, and just review it, because I want to know. I would like to learn about all of these changes and implementations and the growth and share it with the world, really. Thank you so much again talking with me about your experiences in promoting women in leadership roles and the benefits of having more women in leadership positions. You highlighted the importance of diversity and inclusion in organizational success, transformative leadership principles, mentorship, fostering innovation, and the unique perspectives that women leaders bring to decision-making processes. And as always, of course, I mentioned we have this fun pop-up question for Betty. So you ready, my dear?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's do it. What song or type of music best reflects the energy of your work in the field of personal injury law or women in leadership?
Oh, God, Laura, really?
Of course, I had to ask that.
That is a surprise. So I played at the conference Rather Be, and there is no place I'd rather be than to be doing what I'm doing here right now with you, with other women, with other men in the legal space. And I truly believe that the best is yet to come for the WIL by Betty community. So that song is Rather Be.
I love it. What a wonderful song. And by the way, you have we have very similar taste in music. Throughout all these 4 days of conference, I couldn't stop dancing inside and then outside, both ways. Again, that was Betty Aquino, the founder of the WIL by Betty movement. I want to thank you all for listening and watching our episode today. For more tricks and tips on on legal funding and personal injury related law, follow us at moreinjuryfunding.com, more with 2 O's, and of course find It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast on all platforms, wherever the podcasts are available worldwide, and of course on all our social media. Thank you so much again for listening and watching our episode today. Can't wait for our next guest soon. Thank you so much. Until then.
Thank you.